All right, so we're going to move on to our next guy, who is a friend of mine, and I think a friend of a lot of people here tonight. And his name is Romeo van Buiten. And I'm going to give a little extra fun fact, because Romeo might be hard to understand because he's Australian. So just, stick with him. He told me to fuck off. So anyway, Romeo's fun fact that he sent me, that I never heard this story, but that he stood on a deadly snake in the outback and lived to survive. But that's not what he's talking about tonight. He's going to tell us something else. So let's put our hands together for Romeo.
Thank you. First off, can I say, Jim, Playboy?
Yes.
I worked 8 years at Penthouse. We need to talk. And I want to subscribe to your book club. Okay, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll drink a shot with you anytime. How are we doing? All right. So what's starting over for you lot? Is it a redo? Is it doing something else again with a different mindset, trying something new? I'm a huge believer in every decision that we make, whether it's big or small, leads us to this exact moment of where we are right now. And for me, that decision was 28 years ago. So for those of you that know me, my name is Romeo, as Amy said. I'm Australian, from Melbourne originally. Sorry about the accent. Although I don't think I have an accent, I think all of you do. And for those of you that do know me, I'll guarantee you will not recognise the man boy I was back then, with hair down to here, bum fluff for a goatee, wanted to be a huge artist, never quite succeeded. I was angry at the world, I was miserable, I was a wretch, and I had a massive distrust for all things that was corporate. You could basically say I had a massive chip on the shoulder, but I have no idea why. That was just how I was. And this story actually begins in Melbourne, in a pub, funnily enough. It's where I like to be every now and then. With a bunch of friends, wearing, again, the clothes that were probably dying back in that day. Flannel was dying, cardigans with your favourite band's T-shirt name underneath, ripped jeans, Doc Martens that you refuse to let go of. Looked terrible. And grunge was dying. The Seattle sound was fading away and being overtaken by 6 very powerful women, the Spice Girls. Anyway, this story begins at the outskirts of Melbourne in a pub. A bunch of me and my friends, we went out for a night, looking to have some fun, drink some beers, have a good time, play some pool, see what sort of mischief we could get into. And it started out well enough. We were having rounds after rounds, having a good time. And a friend of mine, Brad, it was his time to buy. And he actually said, I need some cash from the ATM. I've got to go up the road. And we're all like, oh, that's cool, no worries. We'll see you back in a few minutes. It's your round. Don't you go stiffing us. So off he went. We didn't think too much about it. Now, the ATM was about half a block away. He should have been back within, up and back within 10 minutes. And it maybe took an hour, and then we're all like, shit, we want to, move on closer to town. Has anyone seen Brad? Don't know where he's at. So we thought, all right, we've got to split up, wander the neighbourhood, see if he hasn't wandered into another pub or anything like that. Because, it's 96, none of us had phones. Fucking corporate America, corporate Australia. So we're wandering around and, trying to find him. And then we decided we'd meet back at where we came from. We didn't exactly know, what happened or where he went, but, we found out pretty soon, but we just don't know why. Simon was the one that came across a large crowd with police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, and a large gathering around. He walked up and was asking what was going on, and they basically said it might have been an accident of some kind. So he got up closer and started speaking to some witnesses and the police, and he gave a description of Brad and what he was wearing, and they said, well, that's probably your friend down there. Unfortunately, by all accounts and from witness accounts, Brad took a wander to go to the ATM. He kept on walking. 3 or 4 minutes later, he found a bridge that went over the famous Yarra River in Melbourne, climbed up onto that bridge. People told him to get down. That's really dangerous. He ignored them, went right up to the top, stood there for a couple of seconds and jumped. 30 years later, it's still just as hard. 2 weeks prior to that, he actually showed up to my house with some beers. I was pottering around in the yard, doing yard work and, piss farting about. And we sat down and sat on the lawn and we were just shooting the shit, having a conversation. And he actually said to me, you have family in Sydney and really good family friends up there. Have you ever just thought about going up there long term? Getting out of Melbourne and just moving up to Sydney? And I was like, what the hell? Why are you asking me to do this? This is such a weird conversation. And I really did not give it much thought at the time, right up until his funeral. But I realised what he was actually telling me was that maybe I should start over and get the fuck out of Melbourne because I was in a really bad place. And I really struggled with that initially until the funeral, when I was standing around, at the wake after the funeral in our local bar that we used to go to every Thursday and Saturday, standing with close members of his family, friends, and I suddenly realised he came over to actually say goodbye. And that was a really tough thought to go through. And I realised that if I didn't listen to that conversation and go by what he was saying, that things wouldn't turn out so well. So I decided to start over right there at that moment. I put my peer down. I shook hands with familiar faces. I hugged his family, hugged my close friends. There was a mall around the corner with a travel agent in it. Again, 1996, travel agents. Walked over there, walked up to the front desk and purchased a one-way ticket to Sydney. And that is a decision that has completely changed my life, that I will never regret, and I'm so thankful for. So thereafter, after making that decision, it definitely was a different setup for me, and starting over and being someone different. And as I said earlier, every decision you make leads you to, the time of where you are right now. And that decision forced me into a position where I've now met my beautiful wife. I have my beautiful family. I'm in this amazing community. And without that, I would not be here today. Lastly, I just want to thank the other speakers up here. Beautiful, beautiful talks. I really have enjoyed it. I want to thank George and Amy and Wilmette Theatre for hosting. It's been amazing. And thank you to all of you for listening. And one final thank you to Brad, because without him, I would not be here today. Thank you.